everybody, it's Sally from Sally Stampers. Thank you for joining me today. Today's video is the first actually of a series that I'm doing this week, which actually is the Whole Lot of Lovely suite. This week all of my projects are based on this beautiful suite and the products that come with it. So as I say, my first project for you this week is this beautiful card, and obviously I've used the really pretty falling leaves, I want to call it, layered leaves dynamic textured impressions embossing folder. Now I think this is beautiful, and they really are so effective, the embossing folders. And obviously, as you can see, if that was just a plain card with this in the middle, it would just look like there was something missing. So adding an embossing folder really does make it stand out and just add a little more, obviously, dimension to it. And obviously all the products that I am going to be using this week and every day are all available to purchase in the shop, and the link for that is below. And obviously all the information you need will be on my blog, and the link for that is below. So I've just realised my phone's on charge on top of my big shot, so we'll just move that out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to obviously make a very similar version of this card. So obviously you need your base, which I've used crushed curry this time. As you can see, it is an A4 sheet scored in half and cut in half. That is my base. And then I have a layer which is 1/2 centimetre thinner and shorter, and that will just sit on the front just like that, which is the same as this one. Whoops, can't pick it up now, with just this tiny little edge all the way round. So to start off with, then I need to do my embossing, and as I say, this is the beautiful embossing folder. It's a lot thicker than the normal ones because it is the dynamic embossing folder, and it is treated slightly differently to our other embossing folders. Now you'll notice that I have my Stampin' Spritzer here. It's just filled with clear water, there's no ink or anything in it, but I always use this to give a very short blast of a mist, if you like, obviously, onto my card, and that basically stops it from cracking and just helps it to bend slightly into the embossing folder. So I'm just going to pop these to one side for a minute because I need to bring in my big shot. Now let me just see if I can zoom out a little. No, it won't let me zoom out anymore. So what you basically need is your top of your sandwich. You don't need your magnetic plate or the bottom plate. All you need, sorry, you do need your bottom plate. All you need is the very first platform. No, I'm telling you fibs now, can't remember. Bottom plate, because it's the dynamic folder, you don't need the bottom one, that's right. And then we simply, and I'm just having a quick look, yeah, so all I do is hold this make sure that you've got the nozzle pointing away from you, because I've done that numerous times, and I'm holding this quite a distance away, and I'm just giving it a very fine spray on both sides to the point where you can't even see, you know, just a tiny little bit of splodge, but you can't really see where the water is, but I can feel that already that card feels different. So you pop it into your embossing folder, and like I say, if it is one of these dynamics, you just use the basic base and a top plate. You always put the crease of your embossing folder into the big shot first, and then you put your lid on, your sandwich lid on, and then through we go. And it is as quick and as simple as that. So let me take all this out of the way. And then obviously as soon as we open it out, there we have our beautiful embossed image. Now I don't know if you can pick this up, but for example here is quite a high embossing and here is very low, and that really is the difference between a standard embossing folder and a dynamic embossing folder. I think it's amazing. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this on. I'm just going to use my snail. I do find that if you use fast fuse on these, it just pulls and rips the card because it's not a smooth surface. I don't quite understand why, but that's the way it is. So I'm just popping my layer on top there. And obviously you don't want to press down too hard because you don't want to squash that beautiful pattern. And then if I just bring my original back in, you can see then I've got this beautiful piece of DSP here, and this is 3 inches by 1.5, just a random getter size that I made, but I've gone again with the crushed curry just to keep it all in, and then the triple banner punch, and then you just pop it in between the grooves, and then you have your banner. Just move that out of the way. So that will go there. And then I'm obviously going to come to my metallic thread in a moment, but then we need this little bit here and this lot of fussy cutting. Now, don't panic. When people hear the word fussy cutting, they think, oh no, it's going to take me hours. I don't know what I'm going to do. Don't think like that. It won't take you hours. It will take you a few minutes, and it's actually quite relaxing. So I'm going back to my Thinking of You, which I'm going to stamp in Pool Party. And I've just got my stamp and scrub over to the side there. Just going to pop that back in there for a moment, and then you need your 1 3/4 circle punch to punch that out. And I'm just going to line that up as best I can. No, that's not straight. There we go. And that's still not straight, but anyway. And that's that one done. And then I've not grabbed my Whisper White spare for my fussy cutting. So I'm just going to grab this bit of Whisper White here. And I'm going to do slightly different stamping to the original one there. I'm going to use this lovely large flower that I'm going to stamp in Pool Party. Because if you notice, the sentiment and that flower, they're actually in Tangerine Tango. This one I've decided to do in a different colour, but they are in keeping, the sentiment and then the little flower buds there to the right. And then get rid of that one, and I'm going to use this lovely large flower, and this is Lots of Love, again the Whole Lot of Lovely stamp that I've fallen in love with. I loved the DSP when I first saw it anyway, and I've fallen in love with it even more now that I've used it for a week long of projects. It is just so pretty and so beautiful, and I certainly think that next time I put my order in, I'll be needing some more of the DSP. So obviously now I need to fussy cut these out because we don't have dies. As I said, it seriously doesn't take long at all. Firstly, I make sure that I cut them into individual pieces, and I'm doing this as quickly as I can so that you don't get bored. But it's very simple to just very easy spin round. Now, I'm hoping that those of you that are into crafting know this little tip anyway. Those of you that are fairly new to this or just like picking up tips, notice that I'm not moving the scissors. The scissors remaining still, it's the card that I move. And that is what makes all the difference and makes it quicker, because there's my flower already done. Because if you're trying to cut like this with your scissors and you're trying to cut round, and it just becomes awkward, doesn't it, and uncomfortable. Whereas if you just keep your scissors where they're comfortable and then just twist and turn the card, then it actually makes it a lot easier and potentially a lot quicker too. There are going to be the odd occasions when you need to move your scissors, don't get me wrong, but on the whole, you don't. And as I said, my fussy cutting is not taking me hours. It's not taking me minutes even. I think at the most it's maybe taken me 1 minute. I might be kidding myself, it's probably 2, but anyway. And there they are, already cut out. So all you need to do now is to adhere everything up. So stick some snail on the back of my banner. Make sure I'm happy with its placement and that it's straight. Then on the back of my sentiment, I'll just grab my dimensionals. Now before I stick this on, this is where I do my placing of stuff. So my flower needs to go here and my leaves will go either side. So grabbing my glue dots, I'm actually going to stick a glue dot either side of my flower, and that is to stick the leaves to. And then, oops, where's it gone? I'm going to also add a dimensional to these. Now on this one, I have actually used the mini dimensionals to help me stick these little bits down. So I'm going to adhere this in place, just to the edge there, and it doesn't matter if your flowers overhang a little, as long as you're covering the end of the banner, because you don't want edges of that sitting out. And now this is going to sit here, quite pretty, but I need my metallic tape, metallic thread, and here it is. And all I simply do with this is again go back to my glue dots, and I add a couple, just checking my placement, so I'm going to add one to this side and one down here, and then dependent on how much you want, you just wind some around your fingers. Now when I do this, I always put my tail end down first, and then some people will stick it down automatically. Because of the way I am, I prefer to place it myself. And you just wind it round. As I say, some people will just wind it and stick it, but I prefer to be a little more strategic, I suppose, in how I place it. It is a little bit fiddly and it can take you a minute or two, but it is worth it when you've finished. And you don't have to go to both glue dots, as you can see here. I'm just going to spin round and do the bottom ones separate. And then when you're happy with it, obviously you need to trim your tail end off. Take the backing off your dimensionals and then just simply pop it in place. And there's that. And then just to finish mine off, I'm just going to add a few of my gold metallic enamel shapes. That is my dog scratching on the wooden floor outside, banging, do apologise. And I think I'm just going to add one more in there. And there you have it. You grab your bone folder, and obviously be very mindful when again you're using your bone folder, don't go over the dynamic impressioned cardstock because you'll flatten it. Just go slightly underneath. And there you have it. Now this one, because it's a dark card, I did add an inside, I've not bothered with this one because it's light enough to be written in. You can add one if you like. But as you can see, the same stamp set, 2 different effects, 2 different colours, a little bit of fussy cutting, and I think they're just fabulous. And wouldn't you be pleased to receive one of those in the post? Like I said, all the details are on my blog and everything that I've used is available in the store, and the link for those is below. Stay tuned this week because, like I said, it is my whole lot of lovely suite, and I'll be bringing you lots of different ideas and products that I've made using, projects I've made using the products. Hope to see you guys again soon. Bye!